much for joining us today for our new series of short, focused conversations on the future of travel in India called RT Next. As we watch a few countries throw their doors open again this summer and post-vaccine travel picks up pace elsewhere, we wonder what's next for us here in India, even if the timelines are not so clear yet. Yes, the world stopped spinning on its axis for a while, and yes, we have a long way to go before the masks come off. But when they do, will we be ready for it, or will it be too late? At the Outlook Responsible Tourism Initiative, an affiliate member of the UNWTO, we very strongly believe, at the cost of sounding trite, that there's light at the end of the tunnel. The question is, how do we get through this tunnel together as a community to build better and stronger and more resilient, communities and people involved in the travel business? So that is exactly why we're reaching out to the experts and the doers, the policymakers and the policy implementers for the RT Next series. We're really hoping they can help us plan better for the future and more than anything else, give us hope. I'm Shweti Banerjee and I'm here today with Mr. Vishal Dev, Principal Secretary, Tourism, Sports and Youth Services, Government of Orissa. Welcome, sir. We've always admired your work and your vision, so we're really, really happy to have you here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Shweti. It's a pleasure to be here on this forum.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Dev, as you might recall, in February this year, when we were there for the annual Outlook Responsible Tourism Summit and Awards, which we held at the Eco Retreat in Konark, in your special address, you said, and I quote, "The next 4 or 5 years is going to be very exciting times for Orissa tourism, and our objective and vision is to be among the top destinations in the country for tourists. We are committed to make it happen." You also told us that the budgets for tourism had been doubled. So, after all that, and in the light now of the pandemic, the cyclone, which I believe, you've been working night and day to, mitigate the impact of that, and the looming possibility of a third wave, what does the roadmap of recovery look like for you in Orissa? Could you share a few thoughts, any plans that you're working on already?
Sure, Shweti. The pandemic has hit the tourism and hospitality sector the worst. All of us are aware of it. All of us are a part of it, and we've been suffering on account of this pandemic. At Orissa, you see, the idea has basically been as to how, together along with all our stakeholders, the hotels, resorts, tour operators, restaurants, how do all of us come together, work together to make sure that things improve as the pandemic slows down. As far as our roadmap is concerned, so last year, after the first wave, we had sat down on our tables and done a brainstorming as to what would work. And we had come out with a plan called Odisha by Road, because we realized people had apprehensions and reservations about traveling by air, traveling by train, which is still there. So we thought that encouraging road journeys, within the confines of their own private vehicles would click and do well. And we therefore launched the Odisha by Road campaign, focusing on traveling by ODIs within the state, as well as from our 4 neighboring states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and West Bengal. We'd also done road shows in all these 4 states. And the response was very good. So if you look at a macro perspective, our tagline says India's best kept secret, because when we started holding road shows across the country, one feedback that we got was whenever we used to talk about the offerings of Odisha as a tourist destination, people always knew of Jagannath, Puri and Konark. But when we spoke about wildlife tourism, eco-tourism, our beaches, etc., they were kind of overwhelmed, saying that we were aware Odisha offered so much. And therefore, this tagline of India's best kept secret. But the plan also is we don't want it to be a secret for too long. So over a period of, let's say, the next 5 years, we would like it to become from India's best kept secret to one of India's most sought after holiday destinations. So that's the plan. And as I mentioned, short term, Odisha by Road, we had come out with eco retreats, of which you were also a part. You saw one at Konark. So that has done exceptionally well. We started with one at Konark in 2019-20, last year, 2020-21. We took it to 5 locations, and this year we'll be expanding it to 6 locations. So these 4 campaigns would do well, I'm sure, to revive tourism in the next in the short term. In the long term, you see, we realize that there has been a paradigm shift in the way people look at tourism. I remember, 30, 40 years back when we used to be traveling with our parents. We had a checklist of destinations or sites to be visited. It was more of a sightseeing thing, and you kind of clicked it on the paper that we were carrying. That all right, this is done and dusted with. But today, the tourists want more immersive experiences. More niche experiences. So we are working on our themes, which Odisha offers as a tourist destination: beach, spiritual heritage, wildlife, ecotourism, art and crafts, culinary, ethnic tourism, etc. And we're looking at building curated itineraries which would be able to provide immersive experiences to tourism. And that is what we plan to roll out, apart from several new products which we are looking at: houseboats, cruises, river cruises, etc. So this is the overall strategy.
That's absolutely wonderful, and it's fantastic to see that your plans, you remain steadfast on the path that you'd charted out for us early on. So clearly, nothing has changed, even though so many so many variables have entered into the context. So that's wonderful to know. And you've already touched upon this. You spoke about niche tourism, about the fact that people want immersive experiences, and maybe one really hopes that finally they will take longer holidays and explore areas with a keener eye. But having said that, the pandemic has dealt a blow, as all of us know, to the ideas of, although more people are talking about sustainability, it has dealt a blow somewhat to to things that we had taken for granted. A lot of people were reducing plastics and so on. Some of that is now taking a backseat because there's fear, and until there are protocols that address these issues, that won't happen. So from the perspective of sustainability, sir, and from the perspective of community-led or community-run interventions, some of which you already have in your state, and I'm really hoping that you'll be scaling them, or looking at replicating them. So in that context, in the context of responsible tourism, where does that fit into your future plans? If you could just maybe elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. Shweti, sustainability is intrinsic to our entire development and promotional strategy as far as tourism is concerned. And it starts right from the very top. Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik is very, very particular about ensuring that we promote responsible and sustainable tourism. And if you look at what we've been doing over the last several decades or several years, you'll realize that we actually walk the talk when it comes to sustainability. If you look at Chilka itself, the second largest brackish water lake in the world, it's a classic case of reforming and converting poachers to protectors. At Mangala Jodi. It's a case study which has even been appreciated globally. And the number of Irrawaddy dolphins in Chilka Lake has also been going up. So is the number of birds that we get. It's the largest wintering ground of migratory birds today in the entire Indian subcontinent. And this year we had about 1.1 million birds across 190 species which visited Chilka Lake. So that's a classic example of our efforts towards ensuring sustainability in all our initiatives for developing tourism. It is also there in the way we go about protecting all of the turtles, the crocodilian species in Bhitarkanika. So moving forward, if you Eco Retreat, where we did the Responsible Tourism Awards in February this year, itself is an outstanding example of sustainable tourism. It's a zero waste event, and it marries several environment-friendly practices. You have heard of Bhitarkanika, so we've had diesel boats running there. We are converting those diesel boats into electric and solar run boats. The project starts this year. In Chilka, we're also converting the most of the boats that run in Chilka, tourist boats, are wooden boats. So we are converting them to IR class compliant RFP boats, which will provide a much better and much more comfortable experience to tourists. So the idea is to marry promotion, development, and sustainability. And I think the most important fact in this entire debate of sustainability is, you'll be happy to know that our green cover has actually gone up from 34% to 39% over the last 10 years. And we're one of those rare states where it's actually happening. And between 2017 and 19, our forest cover has grown up by about 274 square kilometers. So that kind of talks about the effort that we put in ensuring that whatever we do is sustainable and responsible. And also to talk about blue flag beaches, Puri Golden Beach was amongst India's first beaches which got the blue flag certificate. We are developing another 5 beaches to blue flag standards. So all in all, whatever we do for promoting and developing tourism in Odisha is intrinsic. Sustainability is an intrinsic part of that. So on the community led tourism development, I would like to talk about our ecotourism model, which is a unique model, and again has won several awards internationally as well. So we have about 600 community members which manage 47 nature camps. These nature camps were set up by the government and have been handed over to the community for management. We've also provided them training on food and beverage, housekeeping, overall accounts, etc. The plan now is to scale up these 47 nature camps, increase their capacity substantially, almost double it, and also look at several new destinations, ecotourism destinations. And we're also engaging with the community to see that they're trained as naturalists and guides because these are all places which are near wildlife sanctuaries, beautiful forest destinations, etc. So we need more naturalists, more tour guides to help people who are visiting these places. So therefore, we'll also be training them. And of course, the eco retreat, which we started with 1 destination 2 years back, is now being expanded to 6 destinations.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing that, and for even, it's wonderful to know that the green cover has increased. And I know you just spoke about Bhitarkanika. It's telling, right? I mean, it was in the papers when the cyclone hit Odisha that Bhitarkanika, even though it was so close to the place where the cyclone made the landfall, it was protected by the mangroves. It was protected, So it was, so clearly something somewhere is working well, and congratulations to you on that front. My next question to you, sir, is, I know it's rather difficult to predict at this point, but are there any, what are your instincts telling you? What is the timeline for recovery in India? And are there any strong trends that you think will endure? You've already talked about sustainability, and you've talked about, niche travel. So along those lines, are there any other trends that you see that might endure and that we should be, preparing for?
There are various theories going around. Someone says it's going to be a U-shaped recovery. Now we start talking of a W-shaped recovery. So there are all sorts of theories, but I think common sense says that once a large percentage of our population is vaccinated, it will be much safer to travel, and people are very, very keen on traveling. That's what our eco retreat occupancy levels told us. They are wanting, to travel, to go out, to see the world again, immersive experiences, as we were talking of. So I think from as a sector, all of us, if we look at all the stakeholders put together, I would say it will depend on our ability to inspire confidence among the travelers that, we are a safe place to travel, we are a safe state or a safe country to come to. And towards that end, we had started several initiatives last year itself. So we had organized perhaps the largest sensitization and training and capacity building program for stakeholders across the spectrum. So we looked at employees working in hotels, employees working in restaurants. We looked at cab drivers, Uber drivers, taxi drivers, and we had given them a training program on COVID-specific protocols that they need to follow. So that will be very important, and we should also be able to showcase to the world about the measures that we are taking for making travel safer and more secure. I think that will be very important.
Right. I think you're doing a very good job. In fact, I mean, I must say on social media and on your website, because I think that's going to be critical. Like you said, inspiring confidence in travelers, and through technology, because a lot of us are consuming it digitally. All our information is coming to us mostly digitally. So that's fantastic. And is there anything in particular in terms of policies or support that you are hoping to give to MSMEs or smaller operators, smaller homestay owners or hoteliers or travel operators? What is it? Is there anything that you're thinking? Because a lot of them really, I mean, their reserves are running out. So what would you say to them? Yeah.
So we've had several rounds of discussions with the industry stakeholders, owners of hotels, resorts, tour operators, restaurants, etc. And we are working on a package of support for the sector to kind of tide through the crisis. That is one aspect primarily, and the other thing is we're coming out with several new policies from the government side. So we're going to be encouraging homestays in a big way. Homestays are a very important part of our strategy for introducing immersive experiences. So we're promoting homestays in a big way. We're incentivizing people to upgrade, renovate their homestays, and to start homestays in some select destinations in the state. We also coming out. In fact, we already have homestay policies out. We have also come out with a policy for replacing boats. We plan to replace about 1,000 boats at Chilika to start with, from wooden to FRP, our class compliant boats. And the key policy initiative would be the tourism policy of 2021 of the current year, because the last policy we had come out in 2016. So in this policy, we're looking at incentivizing and encouraging the private sector to come and invest in the state. Whether it's setting up hotels, resorts, etc., or it's setting up various other tourism projects. So we are looking at giving them a substantial capital investment subsidy, interest subvention, EPF and training needs of the employees being met by the government, and several such initiatives. So the idea, I would love to have the best tourism policy in the country amongst all the states. So, and that is what we're working towards. The other thing was, how do we promote domestic tourism within the state? How do we see that more footfalls? So, Shweti, when we talk about increasing footfalls to a particular state, we are again kind of getting into a competition with other states. So whether it's Rajasthan or Kerala versus Odisha or Uttarakhand, I think we have to move to an approach where we think of increasing the size of the cake. We're not talking of competition, and towards that end, Odisha has been leading this dialogue on promoting regional long duration circuits. So the idea being that if somebody is, let's say, visiting West Bengal or Assam, he or she could also include Odisha in the trip. So the idea is to promote long duration circuits and regional circuits, which would also require cooperation among different states. So we could have seamless journeys between Odisha, Assam, Bengal, Bihar, etc. That's one of the things. And, we are also trying to showcase our potential, our destinations, which have been hitherto unexplored. So we're working with several TV channels, and our media promotion is of course happening across all the 4 channels: print, electronic, digital, and social media. But we have worked out, we are working with Zee TV, Zoom TV, etc., to come out with specific series wherein people would be able to see various destinations within Odisha. And I believe the Zee TV series, it was a 6-part series. It was received very well. There's another one with Zoom TV, which is going to come out. We're also looking at doing specific series on promoting Odia cuisine, promoting culinary tourism, etc. Sports tourism is something which we pioneered way back in 2018 when we hosted the Hockey World Cup. And we've got two very, very important sporting events in the next 2 years. So we're going to be hosting the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. And Bhubaneswar is one of the 5 major destinations. And we are not only having one entire pool dedicated to us, but we'll also be hosting a quarterfinal and a semi-final. And of course, so that is in October next year, followed by the Hockey World Cup in January 2023. So these two events again would provide us an opportunity of working on sports tourism, the concept that we pioneered. We're also looking at adding more events to our annual calendar. So typically most of our prominent events like the Konark Festival, the Mukteshwar Dance Festival, the Raja Rani Music Festival, etc. They're all limited to that October to March period. We're trying to see that we have events every month and to promote Odisha as an year-long destination. And of course, Buddhist circuit, which is not much known. People from South Asia and East Asia travel to Sarnath, Bodh Gaya, whereas if you look at Buddhism, Odisha played a key role in the spread of Buddhism from India to Sri Lanka, etc. So we are working on highlighting that aspect also and promoting that. So infrastructure development at some of our priority destinations. We typically have 358 destinations which are designated as tourist destinations, but we are looking at integrated planned development of 17 destinations, wherein we want to provide tourists a much better experience when they visit, when they arrive. And so these are the strategies moving forward. And Buddhist circuit, as I mentioned, also figures very prominently in this scheme of infrastructure development.
So it already sounds like a fantastic policy if you are already you're thinking of all these various things, and I hope that the incentives draw in the right kind of operators, the right kind of practitioners. So all the best to you. And before we go, I just wanted to ask you a quick question, which is where are you planning to travel next, sir? Sorry.
I had planned to visit Kashmir this time in June, but then lockdowns and all. We have a lockdown here as well. So, but let's see. I mean, there are several places, but I think traveling within India is what the focus would be for me.
Absolutely. So it's true for all of us, sir. So, finally, I think we're looking inwards and hoping to explore our own country. So that's fantastic. This morning, I was reading, it was a news story in one of the papers on how 150 families of Patachitra artists are, at Raghurajpur are busy painting the outer walls of their homes.
Yes.
And, it just filled with such joy, because clearly tourism hasn't restarted in the way that perhaps we were hoping that it would summer. But clearly there is a lot to explore when we go back, and especially in Odisha. And all the best to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to stay connected. We hope to walk with you along this path and see how we can all recover together as a community and bounce back from what has been a rather difficult year and a half. So thank you very much once again, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Shweta. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.